Today, we talk about how we can create a more equal world for both men and women. Let's all be feminists. That is the agenda of this episode as I speak to Nikita Dixit. She is the founder of an Instagram account called Be Badass that aims to empower women with a bit of sass. Nikita, thank you so much for talking to me. What made you start this Instagram account?
I mean, first of all, I have to say it's a pleasure to be here interacting with you because, of course, like a big fan of yours. So thank you for having me. And I think I started this out of, it started from a personal need. So I'll give you a bit of my background. I used to work in fashion. I worked as a fashion buyer. Somehow I reached a point where it all just did not make sense to me. And I quit, took a sabbatical. And that is how, my fashion bubble kind of burst. And I started exposing myself to different things. And that is how I realized that there's a need for such a platform because I personally always gravitated towards international platforms to kind of, get my daily dose of content. And I interacted with other women, and that was the case for them as well. So I felt like there's a need for a content platform in India that, that has really, no bars hold opinions and just sassy content, sarcastic stuff, humorous stuff, but it's informational as well. So that's how I started. I had no idea about what I'm doing. I was not at all active on social media back then, honestly. So I just took a deep dive, and it was a passion project, and somewhere down the line it became a full-time thing. It just blew up.
At which point did you realize it's blown up? I must give up my day job and just do this.
So I had given up my fashion job, and I used to consult for organizations, in terms of digital marketing and just social media strategy and all of that. But this is only last year when I honestly saw the potential of Be Badass and, the brand that it was becoming. And it was just bigger than what I had ever imagined it to be. So that's how I knew that, I have to give it my all. And I started building a little team. So that's how I gave up the other jobs.
So what, according to you, is feminism?
Feminism, honestly, simply put, is just a movement that fights for equality, equality for all the sexes. Of course, there are some intricacies, especially modern day feminism. We talk about intersectionality a lot. So we must be really inclusive, for towards women who come from diverse backgrounds, be it race, be it ethnicity, be it religion, be it caste, be it class, again, even sexes, gender, sexual orientation. There are just so many nuances to feminism, and it is so important that our current feminism has to be inclusive and has to be intersectional. But ultimately, we're all just fighting for equality.
How can women make their workplaces more gender neutral? Any concrete steps that you can suggest?
I honestly feel like the onus is definitely not on women to make the workplaces more gender neutral. It definitely comes from, say, like the top management. It is honestly their responsibility to maybe hire a more diverse workforce, make sure, they have great policies in place that support women who work in their offices, and, they support things like maternity leave, period leave, mental health leave. They're just supportive all round, apart from hiring women. That's how you can at least try to be more gender neutral.
Tell us, what is the biggest threat to women today in India?
There aren't enough women in leadership positions. There aren't enough women in politics. And ultimately, like, no matter how much, the movement we try to have on, say, social media, or I have a website, I create dialogue, there's conversation, all of that, it's just not enough unless there are policies trickling down from, from the top. And that is something that can only happen if there are enough women in power. So I feel like the whole patriarchy in general is the biggest threat, because look at the leaders that we have. They're making laws and policies that affect women's life without any knowledge of what women want.
All right, our patriarchal society has a long way to go, and giving women its due respect. But what are the good changes or progress that you have noticed around you in the last 2 to 3 years? There has to be something positive.
Oh, for sure. So when I started, I feel like there wasn't enough dialogue. Now there are so many, just on social media itself, if I compare, there are so many platforms that are talking about these things. So the conversation has just gotten louder is what I'd say, and that makes me so happy. Even for us, like now we obviously, when we started, it was just women, but now we have like 15% men, and that makes me so happy that men are there, they are listening, they're being patient, they're paying attention, they're a part of this conversation. So I think that is a positive change that I've noticed over the last 2 years, and that's great. Like that makes me so happy, because there is a conversation, and conversation is definitely the foundation for change.
How can all of us make sure we include more men in the conversation?
We shouldn't think that, okay, men may not be interested, these are just things that we feel, or we feel left out, or we feel that it's sexist. We should tell them, because most of the time men don't even realize it. They are so blinded by their privilege that I don't think they can pay attention to what is happening to us, right? So no matter how minute a thing happens in your life that you feel like this is disturbing, this is sexist, just point it out. Talk to the men in your life, start these conversations, no matter how uncomfortable. Talk about periods, talk about stuff, talk about these things to your fathers, to your brothers, to your boyfriends, whoever, to your friends. Just start these conversations with the men in your lives, and let them know that these are normal conversations to have. And then as you get more comfortable, I feel like also start checking other men for like their sexist humor or like random remarks which they shouldn't be passing. So I feel like that's how it kind of grows. So yeah, so
So
that's
I've
my
been lucky. I've been around men my whole life who've been very pro women, but that is not the case for a lot of people out there. So, what advice do you have for all the women out there? What are some of the things they can look out for to make sure to just do kind of a checklist that they are not in a sexist environment? Because that's something they might be and they may not even realize it.
I'll give you an example of my workplace experience. I remember I was obviously fresh in the job, and I was good at what I did, so I was asked to sit in on a very important meeting. And there was this other guy who was from a different team. He was my senior, and he just, and not like I had a conversation with him, like I did not speak to him, but he just came up and told me that, oh, you know why you're there in the meeting, right? Because you're just there to be a pretty face. Like, please don't talk. I'll do the talking. Obviously, I did not shut up. I did the talking. I negotiated way better than he did. But I mean, that is something that he said. At that point, I was obviously young. I was naive. I did get offended, but I just did not say something back. In hindsight, I should have said something. Again, like if there's sexist humor, one thing that women should definitely do is if they just comment on something and make fun of something just on the basis of that you're a woman, so you can't do it, or something, anything on those lines, I feel like women should definitely ask, why do you think that's funny? Because it's definitely not funny. And when a man has to explain that to a woman, oh, it's funny just because you're a woman, I think he'll also probably, hopefully, catch himself, right? That, oh, that's uncomfortable because I'm being sexist, even though they may not know the term. But it's a high possibility, I'm hoping.
How can women start accepting and embracing themselves the way they are?
We have been obviously taught to not be okay with ourselves. And I when I speak about this, I'm obviously focusing more on the body image issues that women face. There's a whole industry that benefits so much out of our insecurity. So our fight often is not even with ourselves. So when I'm fighting, to feel better about myself, I'm literally fighting $1 billion industry. I'm not even trying to, compete with myself. It's social media, it's the beauty industry, it's the skincare industry, it's so many industries combined. It's very hard, but the sooner you realize this, the further you are on your journey to kind of accept yourself. We need to understand all our bodies are different. All of us have different qualities, and we have this body. I mean, this is what we're living in. You may as well like accept it. Yes, be healthy. Yes, work on it. Yes, do whatever self improvement things you want to do, but like don't kill yourself for it. Don't affect your mental health for it, and then don't fall for the social media gimmicks so much.
It's so easy said than done. As you said, we're all fighting a trillion
Oh,
dollar industry, maybe.
yeah.
Together.
Yeah, like I know it's easy for me also to say, but every day is a struggle for me as well. And again, like as I told you, I catch myself thinking, why am I torturing myself for having the cheesecake that I've so wanted to have? Why do I need to wait for my period to consume this cheesecake?
If you don't think
Right?
that's if you actually feel guilty about eating something delicious or calorific, the guilt apparently makes you put on weight. If you don't feel guilty,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
doesn't have much of an effect,
Yeah.
is what I've been told. And thank you so much for your time and good luck on your journey.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a great conversation.
Thank you so much, Nikita. So the big takeaway of that conversation is make sure you're a feminist and remind everyone around you to respect women and not be sexist.